Hi, folks. Aaron here, Wisconsin Family Podcast on a Monday. The Brewers make a trade. Caleb Durbin is out, among others. A trade that nobody saw coming. We'll get into that. The NFL season is over. More notably, mercifully, the Super Bowl is over. I tell you what, we'll get into it more in a minute, but that was a painstaking Super Bowl to watch. I mean, that was a second preseason game on some random Thursday night in August, and that was not fun. Giannis is still a buck for now. We have some Packer thoughts comparing and contrasting the Green Bay Packers to what we saw yesterday and the two teams who are in the Super Bowl, and just a few thoughts on the Packers' top brass. I'll have that for you. Rough weekend for Badgers basketball. Officiating not helping that. If you want to get a hold of the program, you can do that. Follow along on X at Wisconsin_fam. It's at Wisconsin_FAM. On TikTok, Wisconsin_family. You can always email with your thoughts, WisconsinFamily1@gmail.com. And please go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is what we always say, that is where the podcast is housed. It's youtube.com/@WisconsinFamily1. Just the number 1 on the end of there. Okay, now we got the talk out of the way. Let's talk Brewers. And let's just give quick details of the trade first, okay? It's a 6-player trade. Brewers, Red Sox, simple, cut and dry. Caleb Durbin going to Boston. Andrew Monasterio going to Boston. Anthony Sigler going to Boston, and Boston receives a competitive balanced round B draft pick. In return, well, the Brewers got rid of, traded away the runner-up to the NL Rookie of the Year last year with Durbin. What did they get in return? Left-handed pitcher, and this is kind of the keystone in the entire trade for, at least from the Brewers' perspective. Left-handed pitcher Kyle Harrison, infielder David Hamilton, and left-handed pitching prospect Shane Drohan. Okay, so I've got a piece from CBS Sports here that kind of breaks it down a little bit. So I'm not going to get deep into the weeds. Just want to give a few stats, a little bit of information. If you are not familiar with the players who the Brewers are getting in return, you will be. And it's not going to be deep. Just quick thoughts on the trade in a second. But let me give you the stats on the guys that the Brewers are getting back, or a little bit of information. So Kyle Harrison, left-handed pitcher, again, the key cog essentially in what the Brewers wanted to get back here. For his career, he's 9-9, 4.39 ERA. Last year, with two teams, he was 1-1, 4.09 ERA. And a quick excerpt from the CBS Sports piece. Harrison, the pitcher, is the big piece here, headed to Milwaukee. The 24-year-old was the Giants' third-round pick in 2020 and debuted in 2023 to decent fanfare as a consensus top 50 prospect. He's yet to find great success at the MLB level thus far, pitching to a 4.39 ERA and 194 and 2/3 MLB innings across 3 seasons. He went to the Red Sox last June in the Rafael Devers trade. Harrison doesn't necessarily figure as part of the Brewers' 5-man rotation, says CBS Sports. At least not immediately, as they've got Brandon Woodruff, Jacob Mizorowski, The Miz, Quinn Priester. This reminds me of Priester, folks, but we'll get into it in a second. Quinn Priester, Chad Patrick, and Logan Henderson. But they always utilize more than 5 starters in a season, and depth is a big deal these days with rotations. There's a ripple effect from the Freddie Peralta trade. Harrison gives the Brewers back an MLB starting pitcher, and Jet Williams, acquired from the Mets in the Peralta trade, now figures heavily in the Brewers' infield mix with Durbin leaving. Williams can play third or shortstop with Joey Ortiz filling the other left side infield slot. Okay, so Brewers get a pitcher, lefty, and then they also get David Hamilton. David Hamilton is an infielder, and let's just say he may fit in very well with Joey Ortiz. One more quick thing from CBS Sports. Hamilton becomes bench depth as a backup infielder for the Brewers. In 91 games for the Red Sox last season, he slashed 198 batting average. He slashed 198 257 and 333. So not great. Typical Brewer hitter, though, I suppose. And then finally, they also got left-handed pitching prospect Shane Drohan. He was the Red Sox 30th ranked prospect. So be that as it may. And I know there are many of you who are frustrated by this trade, especially coming off the Peralta one. And here's where I'm at. I really like Caleb Durbin as a guy and as a player. Okay? I mean, attitude-wise, likability, there isn't much to improve on. And also, statistically speaking, he's a Rookie of the Year candidate, runner-up. So it hurts to let him go. I think I'm just more bummed than anything that he's gone, to be honest with you. Of course, Brewer fans are sad about Andrew Monasterio too, but whatever. I'm more disappointed about Durbin than anything else. But here's where I'm at. It's where I'm at with the Brewers front office. Matt Arnold, to me, has earned the right to be trusted, and I do trust him. Remember last year when the Brewers acquired Priester? Folks, people were losing their mind. And he's had a couple of trades where everyone looks and says, what the hell are they doing? And it's worked out. Do I understand the method to the madness at the onset? Like today? No, I was shocked. I opened up X and there it is. Jeff Passan, Caleb Durbin, traded. Okay. I thought this was a bit early for an April Fool's joke, a lame attempt at humor. Turned out to be true. But, again, I don't have a reason to not trust Matt Arnold. And there have been more than a few trades that Arnold has pulled off that, on the surface, it begs the question, what are you doing? But it does end up working out really well. I mean, overall, though, Red Sox fans have to be more excited about this than I know Brewer fans are. Brewer fans are not. Understandably so. But Red Sox, you're getting one of the finalists for Rookie of the Year. And they need a third baseman. And I don't even know if he's going to be a full-time starter. Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But I'm sad to see Caleb Durbin go. On a personal level. But winning games is important. It's just the frustration for, I think, many Brewer fans who don't trust Arnold as much as I do. The frustration is, yeah, obviously you want to win. But how does this trade exactly factor into winning? And to that, I say that is a valid question. That's a good question. I don't have the answer for you on that. The only answer I have is that I do trust Arnold. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. And, it really feels like the Brewers wanted to get Kyle Harrison. Again, he's the pitcher. The main key cog for the Brewers in this trade. Seems like they wanted to get him into the building. Get him into that pitching lab where the miracles happen. They must see something in him just like they did with Priester. It's another great example of it. So, it begs the question, who's going to play third base? And I've seen some suggestion that they move Joey Ortiz to third. I think the Brewers like him at shortstop a lot because they could have had Bryce Terang playing short, and they went with Ortiz instead. I mean, they have options, although I don't know how viable any option is that includes Ortiz. But I'm sure that will beat Joey O to death during the season as far as his hitting goes. We have time for that. Anyway, I just get the impression that the Brewers have a bigger plan at third base and maybe a corresponding move is on its way because this trade was so random. It was so out of left field that it's, I mean, you don't just wake up on one day and be like, oh, you know what? We only have one legitimate third baseman or a guy that can really play third base on a major league roster, although we could move Joey Ortiz, but then we don't have a shortstop or a second baseman. So maybe Jet Williams, who they just acquired in the Peralta trade, that may be an option. You put him maybe at shortstop if you move. I don't know. We'll see. I feel like they have a bigger plan in place and maybe a corresponding move is coming. And we'll wait and see how it plays out. And to me, Matt Arnold has earned at least the benefit of the doubt where I will be patient with it and I will wait and see how it all works out. Okay, I wanted to mention a few things about the Packers here, okay? Want to mention a few things. We never ended up talking about this stat last week, but Zach Cruz put this information out on X, and it was a stat that was going around. And online, I had used it a number of times. Didn't bring it up on the podcast last week, but here it is: regular season wins since 2011. Number 1 and number 1A is New England and Kansas City. 158 regular season wins for both of those teams. In that time, New England, 5 Super Bowl appearances. Kansas City, 6 Super Bowl appearances. The Packers, 155 wins. Second best in the NFL since 2011. 0 Super Bowl appearances. Seattle, 154 wins. 1 shy, ladies and gentlemen, of Green Bay. Over the last 15 seasons, Seattle, 3 Super Bowl appearances and a fresh, shiny new Lombardi trophy. Just acquired. The next time that you hear someone tell you, well, you're spoiled. By the way, we're not spoiled. We have standards. But the next time somebody tells you that you're spoiled, or that it's really, really hard to go to a Super Bowl, and of course only 2 teams go there every year, only 1 team can win it, and it's hard. Or when you hear somebody try to pass off the lack of Super Bowl appearances in the last 15 years as normal, hit them between the eyes with this stat, the one I just gave you. Now, it's even more effective because the Super Bowl is so fresh in our minds. So let me say this. Either the Packers do not care as much as you'd like to think about winning Super Bowls, and it's not a high priority to them as it is to you as a Packer fan, or they are incompetent. And neither is good. Mike McDonald wins a Super Bowl in 2 years. Sure would be nice to go to 1 in a decade almost with Matt LaFleur, especially when everyone tells me how elite the Packers organization is. Now, just saying, something isn't elite. Something isn't adding up, because, folks, it is not normal to win that many regular season games and not even sniff a Super Bowl victory, because you can't even sniff a Super Bowl because you can't get there. You can't get there. But yet, we're going to reward the GM that has presided over that. We're going to reward the head coach who has presided over that. By the way, John Schneider won another Super Bowl. Packers could have had him over Ted Thompson. Packers could have had him over Goody. Of course, when you're Seattle, it is helpful when your head coach reports to your GM and things like that. On Saturday, the Packers' social media posted this statement from Ed Policy, evidently. I think it was from that piece that he does on Packers.com, Policy's Perspective. Right, you're going to get some great answers there. Anyway, this is what Packers social media posted via Ed Policy. Said everyone inside Lambeau Field is more committed than ever to bringing a Lombardi trophy home. Tell me something. Do you believe that? After they bring all their top brass back. Their top, well, we won't count Policy because this is his first year. But you bring everyone back that you possibly can. The coaching changes that you made. Oh, no. The coaching changes. No, not everyone's back. Oh, no. People got poached away to other teams. But who are we firing? Sure as hell didn't fire Goody. Sure as hell didn't fire LaFleur. And LaFleur sure as hell didn't fire Bisaccia or Adam Stenavich or anything like that. Nobody got fired. Only got extensions. So, again, let me ask you, do you believe this? Packers, everyone inside Lambeau Field is more committed than ever! More committed than Lombardi, more committed than McCarthy, more committed than Ron Wolf and Mike Holmgren. They are more committed than ever to bringing a Lombardi trophy home. Do you believe that? Now, normally, if this is true, it's not something that needs to be announced. People instinctively know if you're committed to winning it all. It only gets questioned when you seem like you aren't. And when it seems like you aren't, you're more than likely not committed, not as committed as what you need to be. At any rate, the Super Bowl was awful. So away from the Packers, it came down last night. I basically sat in my comfortable chair pondering. I had two options. I could either watch the Super Bowl, keep watching the Patriots offense, or gouge my eyes out using a toothpick. And it was hard to live on the difference, but I pushed through that game till the very end. Funny, hey, folks, you want a silver lining for everyone says I'm too negative. Hey, by the way, negative fans are actually better fans because they care more about their team than the ones who are never negative. And I'm not going to get into all that. Just letting you know. But you want a ray of sunshine? Maybe Matt LaFleur could win a Super Bowl someday. Because everyone said Sam Darnold can't win a Super Bowl. First, he was a bust, and people weren't expecting him to even see the field. But then he did, and then he couldn't win the big games, and he would choke, and we all know what happened last year down the stretch in the playoffs and against the Lions. It was a whole disaster. Got throttled in Minnesota. But now look, he won. So, there's hope for anyone, maybe. You know what's funny? Sam Darnold now has more Super Bowls than the Minnesota Vikings organization. And that's funny on many, many deep levels. I'll let you figure that out. Here we go. Diana Rossini on X. The Vikings will be bringing in a veteran quarterback to compete with J.J. McCarthy in 2026. One league source she spoke with, pondered the possibility of a Kirk Cousins return to Minnesota. Excuse me. Any chance it could be Aaron Rodgers? We got a Rodgers note in a second. Everyone agrees that the Vikings have a Super Bowl roster, but just lacking the quarterback. And, funny that now they all know that as they watch Darnold hoist the Lombardi trophy. Also a report yesterday, which I would rather see happen. I don't want Rodgers going to Minnesota because that could put the Packers even further behind the eight ball. But this I would love to see happen. There was a report yesterday that said that Aaron Rodgers may be leaning towards returning to the Steelers to join Fat Mike. So that would be fun. I would be all on board for that. I would love it. But yeah, Super Bowl, not great. Drake May, he got the tar beat out of him, and he wasn't very good either. I think he's a really good quarterback, and Vrabel's a really good coach, and they've got a really good team. I just think that watching that game yesterday was pretty obvious that as a team, they weren't ready. I'm not talking about Vrabel. He's been around long enough. He's been in big games. He's played in Super Bowls. More so the quarterback and everyone else just not ready. I think they were a year too early. And they wouldn't have been in the Super Bowl if Bo Nix was healthy. And then next year, they're competing again probably. And that would be more in their wheelhouse. That would be more in their year. Drake in their it would fit them. Because Drake may be in his third year. He'd have more experience. He'd have a playoff under his belt. An AFC championship game under his belt. So, you'd think that they'll be back and that Drake May will be back, but you never know. I think Dan Marino went to the Super Bowl his second year, and he never went back. So we shall see. Giannis stays in Milwaukee for now. No trade deadline equals no more talks from Shams Charania, at least until the offseason when the entire thing is going to heat up again. Because you know it will. Obviously, there are a lot of people who want the Bucks to tank. Get that high draft pick. Maybe the number 1 overall pick. Over the weekend, though, that wasn't going so well. They won 3 games in a row over the last week, which, by the way, is the first time that they've won 3 in a row all season. And watch those dirty rats win enough games to make the playoffs as an 8 seed and miss out on any good draft picks. And then you'd be completely screwed with bringing Giannis back, unless they have something up their sleeve. I mean, if nothing else, keeping Giannis the rest of the season at least gives you time to figure out something to bring him back long term. And You assume that he's going to be playing after he comes back from his injury, and you just hope like hell that he does not get hurt. Let's talk Badger basketball for one quick second here before we wrap things up. What a gut-wrenching weekend for Greg Gard and the crew. Sunday in Indiana, Wisconsin drops a heartbreaker in overtime. 78-77. Nolan Winter, he went off for a career high 26 points. Efficient shooting. Stepped up big. Wasn't enough. Not enough to overcome the late foul calls that had Greg Gard in disbelief. And the fans right there with him, rightly so. Well, too bad. Too bad. Big game tomorrow night for the Badgers. Badgers are taking on Illinois. They're at Illinois, right? At Illinois. Number 5 ranked Illinois. So, big road test. What a huge win that would be. Tough test. And they're rolling. So, can Wisconsin bounce back? Defense has tightened up a little bit. Winter needs to keep getting more help inside. The team's got fight. Consistency is really the key. So let me know what you think in the comments section. I appreciate you guys watching along here today, the Wisconsin Family Podcast. If you, again, want to follow along, you can do that at Wisconsin_fam, at Wisconsin_FAM on X, formerly Twitter, as we all know. And then also on TikTok, Wisconsin_family. And look us up on YouTube, youtube.com/@WisconsinFamily1. Until tomorrow, have a great night, everyone. See ya.